This year has been an incredibly difficult, exciting, educational period of time for us all. And if you're like me, lots and lots and lots of things have been going on in your life, and you're feeling tired, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling um, overwhelmed, so many emotions that it's really hard to describe. But I want to take us on a little journey today and see if we can't somehow figure out how to end 2020 on the positive. Hi, everyone. I am Nancy Becker, and I'm the Chief Flying Pig Wrangler for Business Success Unlimited. As you can all see, I am a woman, but what you can't see is that I am a business owner and I live in chronic pain. That is the overwhelming number one thing that has attached itself to my life over the past few years and has made life a real roller coaster. We all have our challenges. We all have things that weigh us down and try to keep us from moving forward. I've been there. For about a year and a half after my car accident, I sat in a very dark, dingy basement where I couldn't even get off the bed to go to the bathroom. I had a little porta potty sitting beside my couch so that I could hop on one foot to get from the bed I was laying in to the potty. Talk about emotions. Me, the person who walked 2 miles a day, the person who spent their entire life traveling from location to location to location, giving talks and training sessions to rooms full of people. And I can't even get out of bed to go to the bathroom. I was devastated, and all I wanted to do was curl up in a tiny ball and cry for about a year. And my business went not gradually, but like it had a 100-pound rock tied to it, plummeting down the hill to nothing. But one day I woke up and I said, this isn't how I want to live the rest of my life. There is so much that I can actually still do, and so much that I can do now that I couldn't do before because my eyes weren't opened to things that they now are, and I can see through different colored glasses, I guess is the quote that people use. I know for a fact, and I don't usually do this, but I'm going to start being more open with my own feelings and thoughts and values. But I know for a fact that sitting there, God told me, it's time to get off your butt and get busy. You've got things to do, people to share ideas with, and people to help and support. So I started to look at ways that I could create my business in a new way. And this is long before COVID, guys, but it relates in many ways to what a lot of us have been going through during this last year. About a year and a half ago, after I'd started regrowing and building my business, I went to a podcast conference and I'm in a wheelchair, but I'm not even in my electric wheelchair at that point. I'm just in the old push along kind that my husband had to push me around in. This conference had thousands of people at it, and we were not the only conference in this building. There were at least two others, big ones that I know of. And where we were was on the bottom floor of this huge, big center. Did not know that we could get in and out of the building from that lower level. We went, we would drive our car up to the valet parking. We'd get out of the car. My husband would push me in the building. We'd go over to the elevators and we'd go downstairs on the elevator. Didn't realize that we could get out from downstairs. First day of the conference, place is packed. The setup of the building, setup of our part of the building, was the whole middle of this area was vendors. Row after row after row of vendors. And all along the outskirts of these vendors were little bitty rooms that had been set up with the folding walls and all the different things that could get shifted and moved. And chairs inside each one of these little rooms for people to come in for all the breakout sessions. I had chosen which ones I wanted to go to. My husband had chosen which ones he wanted to go to. And we had made a plan for, after each session, he would come back and get me and we would go on to the next. So here we are, first session, first day. He pushes me all the way to the back of this teeny tiny little room so that my wheelchair wouldn't be in the way of people coming and going. Makes sense. We're thinking about others. I've still got a view of the people talking and everything's peachy keen. People start coming in and they come in and they come in and they come in. There is standing room only. Every seat has been taken. There are people standing, leaning up against the wall, sitting on the floor, and I've been pushed into this little bitty, teeny tiny corner in the back. Number one, I have claustrophobia. And I'm beginning to panic, but I'm going, it's okay. You're here to listen to important information. Take a breath and you'll be okay. Just as the conversation gets started, the fire alarms go off. And people start to rush and push and jam. They're jumping up off the floor. They're moving chairs. They're going nuts to get out of this little bitty room out into this larger area where all the vendors are, trying to figure out how to get outside. Remember, in a fire, you can't use an elevator. We're in the basement. We don't realize that you can get out from the basement level. So everyone's running around in circles trying to figure out how to get out. I can't move because I have very little use of my one arm. And I can't, when I try to crank myself, I go in circles. Wheelchairs aren't supposed to be run one-handed. So I'm just kind of sitting there frozen while everybody pushes and shoves around me. One woman finally comes up to me and says, "May I help you?" And I went, "Oh, thank you." She pushes me out into the middle of the vendors area and I see my husband running from across the room. towards me. We get outside, everything's cool, the alarm goes off, we're given the A-OK to come back in, and the alarm goes off again. By this time, it's obvious that there's either an issue with the alarm system or somebody's playing a gag and doing this, for fun and giggles. The rest of the week goes fine and learned a lot, had a wonderful time, and it was great. But because of that, I learned a couple of things. I almost hadn't gone because I was afraid something like this was going to happen. Not that we were going to get caught in a fire and all of that, but that I was afraid I wasn't going to fit in. I was afraid that my wheelchair would make me stand out and I'd be different from everybody else and just all those kinds of things. But I went anyway. I said, that's ridiculous. I want to learn. I'm going. So we went. So that was the first thing I learned, is that even when you have issues, you can do it if you try. The second thing I learned is that there's not a lot out there to support people who have challenges. 60% of the US population has at least one chronic illness or autoimmune disorder. Over 60%. The largest number of home-based businesses up until Corona was people starting home-based businesses that had some sort of a disability or issue that kept them from working outside the home. They wanted and needed a way to have an income, and they didn't fit any longer the 9 to 5 mold for whatever reason, and they needed something different. They needed to be their own boss. Let's face it, we all have challenges. If we're a mom who is dealing with her kids, homeschooling them, and you don't have a clue how to do that, and the kids are not wanting to do the things they're supposed to be doing, and you've got to run them to soccer practice, and you've got to this and you've got to that, and all these other things. How do you do all of that and still run a thriving business? How do you maintain your company when you're in pain, you're tired? I've been having a really bad couple of weeks where I am in a, I don't know what it is, but I'm hurting. The weather's changing. The cold does not do good things for my nerve damage. And my disabilities are really screaming at me. I don't want to work. Do I just allow myself to go back into the dark place where I was before and let my business fall to the ground again? Hell no. I have worked too hard and too long to build it back up again. I am going to get through this, but I need to do it differently than I did before. I need to create an environment where if I feel like working at 4 o'clock in the morning, which often happens, I can do it at 4 o'clock in the morning, and by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I can go to bed. I have to be able to figure out my schedule so that when I'm talking to people, I talk to people during prime times of energy for myself. When I'm doing these videos, they have to be at a time when I feel energized and enthusiastic and able to share with you all instead of sitting here crying. Did not feel good at all yesterday, but I had a podcast interview that I had to do because it was too late for me to cancel it. I thought it was at 12:30, and I woke up at 11 o'clock after not sleeping all night, and I went, "Oh, I can't do this." But then I realized that the podcast was at 11:30, not 12:30. I had less than a half an hour before it was time to start it. In all fairness to that guest speaker, I could not cancel at the last minute. So I went ahead with it. However, I could tell the whole way through the podcast that I was off. There was something wrong. I wasn't giving it my best. My questions were less than perfection. My energy levels were lower. I should have canceled. But I did not want to do that to the other person. But that also taught me that I have to understand and listen to my body when it's telling me things. And I have to give myself permission to accept those things. Really important that we understand all of this. It's also really important that we give ourselves permission to acknowledge that things are different for us. Even if it's just COVID stuff, things are different. Doesn't mean that we have to stop trying. And I'm going to end today's video on an up note, something for us all to think about. I was talking to a couple of clients last evening, and they were moaning about how their revenues for the year were down like 89% from what they were last year at this time. And I went, whoa, 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 stop a minute and think. Number one, most of us have been really, really challenged this year because for how many months did most of us not even have a business, especially someone like them who were photographers. And you have to be in contact with people to be a photographer in their line of business. So, of course, their revenues were going to be down. Leave that as a understandable, nothing you can do about it, bottom line action. And I said, when did you open back up again? And they said, well, we started doing photographs again the 1st of June. I went, okay, go from June of last year through the end of September because we're just starting October. We don't really want to look at October, but pull up revenues from between June of 2019 and October 1st of 2019. Then pull up revenues for that same amount of time this year. What do you see? And she's sitting there looking at her computer and looking at her profit and loss statement, and she starts to get this big smile on her face. And I went, what are you seeing? And she says, believe it or not, we are actually up over 20% in our revenues last year that time frame, this year that time frame. I said, see, it's all in the way you look at things. If we try to find the positives, if we look for the gratitudes, if we allow ourselves to accept what is and go from there. It can make an entire difference in our lives and in our businesses. And I want you all to understand that wherever we're at. We cannot change what has happened up to now, but we can change and add value and look at things differently moving forward. For me, that is, I am going to be more open with everyone. The bottom line values for my business are honesty, integrity, and being one with my maker. I don't care if you call him whatever. To me, it's God. And I know for a fact that God is in my life and is giving me the direction where I should be headed. And I am going to be more open with you all about my thoughts, my feelings, and what I stand for, and how I am here to help you. I'm not going to shove my values of God down your throat. I am going to shove honesty and integrity, because without those two things, you're not living your best life. So, you know, when you work with me, you're going to have my honest feelings and thoughts, and you know that I'm never going to do anything that's going to hurt you or devalue you at all. I am here to support you and help you. And I would love to talk with you about all of that. And I'd love to share with you my VI Pigs that's going on right now. It's a membership program that is set up to help support you specifically in your business based on all of these things that I've been talking with you about today. So, with that, guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I would love for you to get out there, to be productive, and to soar higher. Take care, y'all. Bye bye.